Commissioner Kaiser?
Present.
Commissioner Anderson?
Likewise.
Commissioner Nakey? Here. Commissioner Chair McCoy?
Here.
Commissioner Ossick?
Here.
Commissioner Hoy?
Here.
Commissioner Cook?
Here.
Vice Chair Lewis?
Here.
Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Lewis, do you have a motion on approval, additions, deletions?
Yes, I move the addition to tonight's agenda of agenda item 3.3B.
Got a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the additions to the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Have any public comment? There is no one signed up for public comment. Does anybody wish to speak before the Housing Authority of the City of Salem? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lewis, the consent calendar?
Yeah, I move passage of the consent calendar as amended.
Second.
Commissioner Lewis has moved to approval of consent calendar as amended. Any discussion? Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you very much. I know I have seen the addition, 3.3B before, but somehow it is in my packet, and I think that's a great thing, and go get him, Andy.
We're going to have,
Yeah.
okay. All those in favor of the, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
If I may, Mr. Chair, included in the consent calendar this evening is the minutes from the June 12th, 2017 Salem Housing Authority meeting. Two resolutions. One, 17.364 was the finalization of the independent financial audit report for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2016. And the added agenda item 3.3B is the agreement with to become general manager of MWIC Fruitland LLC for the purpose of facilitating the development of a workforce affordable housing project. And if it's all right, I'd like to ask Administrator Welch to give us the input on that new agreement.
Fine.
Happy to. Thank you, sir. We work every day on affordable housing, and sometimes it comes together and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it comes together and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes this works for me and sometimes it doesn't. And so we work really hard and we find partners, and I have to be really clear about our partner on this one. They've worked with us very strongly to make this project work, and this project is 166 units of workforce and affordable housing. And I would say workforce is 80%, so it's not all the way up to market rents, but they're a notch down, and the 34 units that Mountain West is setting aside for affordable housing at 60% is just another ability to give our clients places where they can live. So it's very, very important for us, and we it's only been a couple weeks, 3 weeks that this was in order. Mountain West project, just like the Viking Village project, had financing, and then the financing wasn't there. And so a tax exemption is a way that we can facilitate mixed income housing with a relative low cost at the front end, And so what the affordable housing units will be 6 studios, 9 one-bedroom, 1-bath, 13 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 6 3-bedrooms, 2 baths. One of the data points that I looked at on this was their net per door revenue, because that tells everything. Their net, and that is $600 per month per door. And that is affordable to our clients who are at that 60% level. So this is a model that I don't know how frequently it comes along with the partners. However, it is a model that allows the private sector to be involved in a way that also supports their community and the people that might not have the same options. So we're really pleased. I'm really pleased. I think Steve's pleased. And it will make this project work, and it will also allow 34 families, once the project is completed, to have an opportunity to live in a nice unit.
Okay. Commissioner Hoy.
Thank you. I just think this is a great project. I'm really pleased to see it come forward. You're speaking about 60% and 80%, and I believe that's of median income. And can you remind everybody what that level is so we can get an idea in real dollars what we're talking about here?
So, yes, thank you. So the income of somebody at 60% for a single person is $24,540. 2 persons at 60% are $28,080, and the three household people is $31,560.
And Andy, make sure, you're talking 60% of the median household income in Salem, right?
Correct.
Which is about $48,000 a year or something like that?
Median for that is 55.
Okay. Commissioner Cook.
I just wanted to say, Director Welch, that I'm really excited about the mixed units in this house, or in this facility. It's really nice to see a different range for different family sizes and different needs. Thank you for your work on this.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. I think I jumped the gun before, and I realized that when everyone was looking at me even more strangely than they usually look at me when I make comments. But, you know, I'm excited about this, too, and I agree with Councilor Cook that it's good to see a mix in these kind of developments rather than all a monoculture. I think that's terrific, and I look forward to hopefully more public-private partnerships like this.
Okay. Any other comments? Great work, Andy. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Okay. And seeing no other business to be had, this meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Salem is adjourned.
Order this meeting of the City of Salem Urban Renewal Agency for Monday, July 24th. If the recorder would please call a roll.
Board Member Kaiser. Board Member Anderson. Board Member Nanki.
Here.
Board Member McCoy.
Here.
Board Member Osick.
Here.
Board Member Hoy.
Here.
Board Member Cook.
Here.
Board Member Lewis.
Here.
And Chair Bennett.
Here. Okay. Do we have any additions or deletions tonight? Okay. Any reports from boards or commissions? I don't believe so. Public comment. Chuck Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Bennett, and thank you, Council. I just wanted to come by again tonight. I really didn't get a chance to say thank you 2 weeks ago when you made another significant contribution with urban renewal dollars to CTAC, and I know you've got a busy agenda, so I'll get out of the way, but what I wanted to do is have a couple of our recent graduates come and express their appreciation too. So, come on up.
All right. Guys, thank you for letting us be here. My name's Sam Elder. I'll let my friend introduce herself. We just wanted to come tonight and say thank you so much for donating to CTEC. It has blessed a lot of kids' lives, including mine and a lot of my friends who have been hired through the program of CTEC. So on behalf of CTEC, as the students from the past, present, and future, we thank you guys so much.
Seth, what's happened to you since graduation? What are you doing?
Since graduation, I've been working at Par Lumber. It's been a lot of fun. It's a great experience. You make great friends and acquaintances through that program or through that job. I can name off 13 different contractors right now to build a house, so that's a lot of fun. And you get a no material base, so I can't complain.
Excellent, thank you.
Sorry, I'm really shorter than him. My name is Margarita, and I also recently graduated from CTEC, and it always opens doors no matter which program you are in, because it gives you an idea of what you could be able to do, even if what you plan in the future doesn't work out. Well, you have a backup plan, and that way no one is left with no path to go to. And it allows students to also expand and open their mind to what other possibilities there are. Not just construction is not just building a house. It also is like designing, also financing the house and everything else around it.
Yes, Counselor.
Which class or area of study were you both in? Were it both construction?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Where are you employed now?
I am employed as a summer intern for Oregon Trust in Dayton,
Great.
and
Congratulations.
it's going good so far.
Great. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming down and telling us about what's happened with you and the program. We're very excited about it.
Thank you guys for letting us
You
come.
bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent calendar, Councilor McCoy.
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
And the consent calendar consists of an action item for, and it's a marketing addendum for fiscal year 2017-18 with the Salem Convention Center. And that's to provide TOT revenues or TOT monies in the amount of $289,220 for Salem Convention Center marketing in this fiscal year. We're there also to authorize the use of $150,000 of unallocated riverfront downtown urban renewal area funds for the completion of the Peter Courtney Mineral Island Bridge, and approve the attached grant amendment to provide $150,000 of the riverfront downtown urban renewal area funding to the city of Salem for the bridge.
Okay. We have a second?
Yeah,
Second.
Cook, okay. Any discussion or questions? Yes, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about the Convention Center marketing addendum. Some of you were here last year may recall that I had some concerns about the format and the language and how it was written, and I expressed those concerns both in the meeting and also in private meetings later, and I have to say, it looks really good this time. It's much, much better. I still have a little concern about the passive voice, but other than that, this is a terrific.
Yeah, I can't imagine you having a concern about
So it's very good.
Okay, any other items? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. No information reports, special orders of business, public hearings. Urban Renewal Agencies adjourned. call to order this meeting of the Salem City Council for Monday, July 24th. If the recorder would please call the roll.
Counselor Kaiser. Present. Counselor Anderson.
Likewise.
Counselor Nanki.
Still here.
Counselor McCoy.
Here.
Counselor Ossick.
Here.
Counselor Hoy.
Here.
Counselor Cook.
Here.
Counselor Lewis.
Here.
And Mayor Bennett.
Mayor Bennett.
I'm here.
Physically only.
Yeah, no, I'm just checking on, okay. Whether I take any extra of your time, I won't. I'll just go ahead with the next thing. No proclamations. No ceremonial presentations.
Additions and deletions.
Now the council can comment. Yes, Council.
Additions and deletions.
That comes in a minute.
Yeah, we have to.
I'm up at the top here. I think I'm on the right place. Oh, I see where we are. Additions and deletions.
I move approval of the addition to the agenda.
Second.
And that addition is a revision on item 6C. On page 2, section 1B, we're replacing citizen with community, and that typo was caught by our eagle-eyed Counselor Nanki.
We always ask the police officers when they come to the neighborhood association, what does CERT stand for?
And we know that Counselor Nanki read the agenda. I'm very proud of him.
Okay. Any further comment on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, council comment. Counselor Anderson.
Thank you. This is a somewhat long statement, but I think it needs to be made. One of the functions of Salem neighborhood associations is to receive and discuss information concerning city projects and proposed projects, and to inform the council of the neighborhood association's position on any given issue, including any differences of opinion. It is expected that any neighborhood association discussion shall be civil, respectful, and allow all sides to have their say. Unfortunately, I believe this did not happen at last week's West Salem neighborhood meeting. While I was not there, I have spoken to 7 people who were, including Councilor Lewis. While some may disagree as to the rationale for and history behind the actions taken, all appear to agree that the meeting was disruptive, disrespectful, and totally antithetical to how neighborhoods should behave, much less how human beings should behave. The co-chairs of the neighborhood association were interrupted, shouted at, talked over, accused of bad faith, had the microphones taken away after the chair declared the meeting adjourned, and accorded absolutely no respect or civility. The instigators of most of this behavior were persons in favor of the proposed Salem River crossing, a matter which was not even on the agenda at the meeting except tangentially with respect to a motion contained in the minutes of the previous meeting. While the neighborhood's parliamentarian, in an attempt to keep order, did inappropriately shout, "Sit down," at the people who were disturbing the meeting, he appropriately apologized to them for his actions, which were not called for. I am certain that the proponents have deep felt and sincere beliefs as to the necessity of the proposed bridge. I believe that they have every right to their beliefs and every right to discuss the situation in a respectful and civil manner. What happened at the meeting is not proper behavior, not behavior that anyone should be proud of, and not behavior that should be repeated in any setting. This is not the type of behavior which should be allowed to pass unnoticed. It must be stopped now by all sides. People, in spite of our differences of opinions, we should all treat others as we would wish to be treated. All sides should discuss city issues on the merits of the issues themselves without resort to ad hominem and personal attacks. Neighborhood associations are a microcosm for the issues we face as a community. We are all part of Salem. We are all neighbors. Whatever our views, we can agree to disagree. We should always strive to be civil in our conversations with our neighbors. To that end, Councilor Lewis and I will be appearing on CCTV later this week to urge people on all sides of any given issue to follow these guidelines and to on our CTV appearance, discussed the high value that this council places on civic discourse in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments or? Yes, Councilor Kaiser.
Thank you. I just want to promote quickly an event happening tomorrow morning. And that's a talk and presentation by Joe Minicosi of Urban 3. Joe is a North Carolina consultant who focuses on downtown and how best to make downtown work, well-designed cities, that sort of thing. And I think his talk is called Value in Downtown Development, Dollars and Fiscal Sense. And I believe, Mr. Mayor, you'll be opening that conversation. That's at the library Anderson Rooms at 8:30, and it's free.
Y'all come. Councilor Lewis.
Yeah, I'm going to comment on Councilor Anderson's comments. I am, I guess, one of the 7 people that he talked to about the events of last Monday night. I did voice my disappointment of the elevated voices and the pushing. The elevated voices, the yelling and screaming at everybody. But I did not agree, and I do not agree, that this is a one-sided fault. The the West Salem Neighborhood Association has been inappropriate for a couple of months now when it comes to working the agenda and the minutes because of the actions of a large group of people. In fact, the largest group that any association has seen in the city of Salem's history. 350 people came out 2 meetings ago. 150 people came out at the last meeting last week, and I would submit that the majority of them would have seen it differently than the other 6 people who Councilor Anderson talked to. And I'm not going to spend time tonight defending or arguing, but I'm telling you that I was there. And there was heightened voices. The fact that the next day in a couple of blogs, the word violence was used to depict what happened at that meeting is a lie. An absolute lie. Yes, there was screaming. Yes, there was grabbing of microphones. And yes, there was screaming into the microphone by one person who did apologize. But the idea that this was way out of control is absolutely incorrect. Do we all need to be civil? You bet your belly button we do. But this meeting is not an example of the fear and violence that was spread through those blogs in the preceding days. And I object to that. Can we all be a little bit more civil? You bet. Should we be? Absolutely. What happens when we get emotionally involved with something? Emotions go up. That's predictable. And I think in this case, it was unfortunate to the point of being unfortunate, but not anything past that.
Right. Anyone else want to comment? You want to do the can't we all just get along statement, Mr. McCoy? Okay. All right, thank you very much. Public comment. Reverend Hawkeye Morgan. Okay. At the end of the evening? Okay, that's great, thank you. Okay, well, you're okay, you did the right thing. Sandra Burnett.
Good evening. I'm Sandra Burnett from Salem Art Association in Ward 2. And thank you for the opportunity to come this evening to address the issue of the allocation from the TOT Tourism Fund. Firstly, it's well established that cultural tourism generates the greatest return as cultural tourists stay longer and spend more on local services and products at their destinations. But the impact of Salem's cultural facilities goes far beyond tourism. I know that I've said this before many times, but a city's cultural infrastructure is a major economic driver that, is this coming through?
Yeah.
Economic driver, because livability is a crucial factor where both people and companies decide where to locate. Businesses know that there needs to be a certain quality of life in order to attract top talent to their businesses. Cultural organizations contribute to the healthy economy by promoting a city as a vibrant location to both live and do business in. And of course, we all value a strong economic sector. Salem is fortunate to have a robust network of 9 facilities which constitute the backbone of the cultural life of the city. But despite the multifaceted community impacts, they're currently each receiving approximately 0.7% of the TOT fund that is derived from tourism. We therefore request that the facilities are funded through a new fixed percentage which will help to stabilize our year-round operations. Our request to the Council is for a 15% allocation of the TOT revenue generated by tourism. This would be shared amongst the 9 organizations. By way of precedent, Travel Salem alone gets 25%, and we feel that the combined efforts of all of us, and I think everyone's here tonight, that our combined efforts is at least something of a tourist draw equal to that of Travel Salem. So we're asking for you to support our proposal that addresses the need for more equitable distribution of the revenue generated in part by the facilities themselves. So thank you for looking at this issue tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you, Sandra. John Obretz.
Good evening. My name is John Obrantz. I'm the Mary Beth Collins Director of the Hallie Ford Museum of Art at Willamette University. My institution, the Hallie Ford Museum of Art, is located in Ward 1. I live in Ward 8, and our faculty, staff, students, and 657 members, and growing, live in all 8 wards of Salem. I'm here this evening seeking your support for a 15% allocation of the annual TOT budget to be shared among 9 cultural facilities. Individually and collectively, the 9 cultural facilities represented here, Historic Deepwood, the Elsinore Theater, Gilbert House, the Hallie Ford Museum of Art, Salem Art Association, Salem Carousel, Salem Multicultural Center, Willamette Art Center, and the Willamette Heritage Center, have a major impact on the quality of life in Salem as well as on cultural tourism. From our inception in 1998, the Hallie Ford Museum of Art has strategically built an encyclopedic permanent collection of Western and non-Western art ranging from ancient art to modern masters. Housed in 4 permanent galleries in our building and rotated on a regular basis, the permanent collection is intended to introduce visitors, both Salem residents and others, to some of the key ideas and themes found in Western and non-Western art. At the same time, over the years, the Hallie Ford Museum of Art has mounted a dazzling array of world-class exhibitions that have enhanced the quality of life in Salem, as well as brought visitors to Salem from throughout the United States and abroad. A few notable examples include Toy Maori, The Eternal Thread in 2005, an international exhibition of historic and contemporary Maori weaving that brought visitors to Salem from New Zealand, Australia, and throughout the western United States. Timeless Renaissance, Italian drawings from the Alessandro Maggiore collection in 2011, another international exhibition that featured 75 priceless drawings by some of the foremost artists of the Italian Renaissance. Breath of Heaven, Breath of Earth, Ancient Near Eastern Art from American Collections in 2013, an exhibition that explored the divine realm, the human realm, and the animal realm in ancient Near Eastern art, and attracted visitors from San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, and Washington, D.C., among other American as well as Canadian cities. And currently, of course, Behind the Beyond, Psychedelic Posters in Fashion in San Francisco, which is our celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love. In order to broaden the scope of these exhibitions, the Halliford Museum of Art regularly brings some of the foremost artists, scholars, and performers from throughout the United States and Canada to Salem to lecture, inspire, teach, and delight. Speakers have included Egyptologist Kent Weeks, the discoverer of the lost tomb of Ramses the Great in the Valley of the Kings, regional artists Rick Bartow, Frank Boyden, Faye Jones, and Ross Palmer Beecher, the Haida dance troupe, the Rainbow Creek Dancers from the Queen Charlotte Islands off the coast of British Columbia, and Pulitzer Prize-winning authors Bill Dietrich and William Souter, among many others. A high point occurred in the fall of 2015 when we invited New York Times bestselling
your
author.
Time's up. I appreciate your
Sorry.
comments. That's okay. Are there any questions?
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I forgot to mention, when the red light goes off, just stop.
Okay.
I'm not to you, but to everybody. That was my mistake. Alicia Bay.
What about the yellow flashing light?
Yellow flashing light means you have 1 minute, so talk fast.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Bay. I'm the Executive Director of Gilbert House Children's Museum, located in Ward 1. Gilbert House has been a part of our community for almost 30 years. It has been literally built by our community members who understand the importance of having a place that is dedicated to inspiring children to learn through creative play. Gilbert House Children's Museum anticipates attendance of over 100,000 people in 2017. The museum needs support to continue to offer quality educational exhibits and programming. Approximately 87% of our annual operational expenses are covered by admissions and memberships. This means we rely on contributions for the remainder of our expenses, including funding new exhibits and educational programming. Gilbert House Children's Museum is very grateful for our partnership with the City of Salem. We have the opportunity to create a unique experience for children and their parents in beautifully restored houses in Salem's Riverfront Park. Our organization provides educational experiences for children that support the objectives of their families. Mr. Rogers once said, play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. We are grateful for the operational grant we receive each year, as well as the opportunity to apply for funding for capital improvement projects and events. The museum, along with the other cultural facilities, receive about $30,000 a year for operating funds. At times when Gilbert House Children's Museum has struggled financially, this funding made it possible for the organization to continue providing our services. The proposal brought before the council tonight will increase that amount to about $34,000, and an increase that only accounts for inflation since the last increase in 2008. The transient occupancy tax is paid by travelers to benefit the city they are visiting. I have become concerned as I witness the tourism industry increasingly dictating how this will be used. Of course, as a community member, I want to see the promotion of Salem as a destination, but the funds are more than a marketing tool for the hotel industry. This is a community asset that should be used to maximize our local institutions. Tonight, I ask that the City Council consider more than the minimum that the cultural facilities operators have been given in the past, but lead our community in valuing our cultural institutions. The cultural facilities are united in asking for 15% of the transient occupancy tax to be allocated for cultural facility operating grants. Thank you for your time.
Alicia, I wanted to ask a question. Don't misunderstand the question. I just want to make sure that it's clear how this works. Do you pay rent for the use of the Gilbert House?
We do not, sir.
Okay. And do you pay for capital improvements or maintenance of the buildings at all?
Yes.
Okay.
So the city takes care of the structural and the outside. We take care of the inside.
Okay.
That includes carpeting, new exhibits, painting, other small repairs like that.
What are the costs of that kind of work like? Do you do that quite often, or?
We do. So our new exhibits cost between $10,000 to $15,000, and we are planning to do 3 of those in the next fiscal year. We're also we're in the process of replacing carpet that is long overdue, and have some major maintenance upcoming on the outdoor play set, which does belong to Gilbert House, not the City of Salem.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Cook.
Oops, I'm sorry. Who we got, Cook?
Sorry, is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Director Bay, if you could just share how many people receive free or reduced membership costs based on need? Is that something that your facility does, and how do you absorb that cost, or how do you determine that?
Great question, thank you. So we have a reduced membership program that currently about 200 families are taking advantage of. It's a two-step process for families that are receiving assistance can apply for this half-price membership, which is $40 rather than our $85, and comes with all the benefits that a regular membership would, including reciprocal opportunities at other museums. We also offer 2 free days, which is a part of our agreement with the City of Salem. And on the last 2 that have taken place in the last fiscal year, we welcomed over 3,200 people to the museum just on those 2 days alone. We have also started doing a free or a half-price admission Fun Day Monday at the first Monday of every month to try to help those families that the admission cost of $8 is a restriction.
And just
Yes.
one additional backup. And in what way do you support, I know you talked about creating a unique experience in looking at the education of youth and looking at reaching younger populations. Can you talk a little bit about the on-site school and also the service that you provide for parents that homeschool or whose children are not in school in the area?
Yes, so we have an on-site preschool that accommodates 12 children each year. We are also building new programming that will address kindergarten readiness and be directed specifically towards preschoolers because that's the majority of our visitors during the school year. I forgot your other questions.
Okay, you did great.
And the new exhibits and building out the new programming. We also continue to offer reduced admission for field trip groups. They're just $5 and a free chaperone per each 5 children. So the funds that we receive from the City of Salem, from the TOT, help us reduce and keep those admission prices low.
Councilor Hoy.
I apologize if you already answered this question, but if you did, I missed it. How many visitors do you get in a typical year?
100,000.
This year we'll get 100,000, and that's a 30% increase of what we were seeing just 2 years ago.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Councilor McCoy.
Of the 100,000, how many are local and how many come from out of town?
We keep zip code and sporadic accounts of that, but we estimate, so with the field trip groups, we can look at that more specifically, and with the field trip groups, about 70% are from outside of just the Salem-Keizer School District. And then when we look at just our overall attendance, we estimate that 48% come from outside of the local region to visit.
So outside meaning?
Marion and Polk County, beyond those 2 counties.
Councilor Kaiser.
Thank you. So you had mentioned, or all of you, Sandra, John, and you, you're asking for 15% allocation from TOT. How would the 9 cultural organizations go about splitting that? Would that be like an even, everyone gets 1.6666%?
We would love for it to be even. We are united in this, but I don't know if that will go to the Cultural and Tourism Advisory Board to determine, or if the City Council will determine.
Your preference, is it for it to be kind of an even
Yes, we
split
support each other
between
in this.
the organizations?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. I'm seeing if we can get everybody on the council to question you, but I just want to sort of make a statement, and that is we're obviously going to be discussing this in an information report, and during the budgetary process, we had a discussion about this, and we all thought there would be the need for some sort of work session so we could understand TOT. And so when it comes, and I see everybody nodding their heads here, so when the information comes up, I know that the council will be asking for a work session so we can really get into this, including the kind of questions that we've been asking and other questions as to how this all fits in with the whole purposes of the Transient Occupancy Tax. So thanks for coming down.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson.
Just the last, I promise.
Councilor Lewis.
Only because I was invited by Councilor Anderson. I have a little different question for you, and I got to be honest, it's not on the subject, but it's on your facility, and you're standing here, and I can't not ask. but Gilbert House finds itself situated between two overpasses. Do you ever get people complaining that it scares them, that they just don't like coming there?
We have not seen that on our survey cards. If there's people that don't attend, we have not heard that complaint. And we actually, the free days that Councillor Cook referred to, we use the bridge to our advantage and host an event out in the front and extend our footprint that allows us to invite 1,600 people to enjoy the museum that day.
Thank you.
Councillor Cook?
I just totally spaced on my
Okay.
question.
Thank you very much, Ms. May. Laura T. Pelly?
Write it down next time.
Good evening, Laura T. Pelly, Salem's Riverfront Carousel, Ward 1. I'm speaking on the impact of volunteers in the nonprofit sector and specifically how they relate to our 9 organizations. A few fast facts. Nonprofits are said to be the fastest growing industry around the world. They appear to be the leaders in volunteer engagement. They typically have the smallest budgets. 68% of them are shown to have a budget of $100,000 or less in annual revenues. In Oregon specifically, they represent 12% of the total private workforce, as stated in a 2015 report. 9% of the nonprofits in Oregon operate in the area of arts, culture, and humanities. The study shows that cultural agencies help provide the vehicle, the opportunity, and the support system for enhancing the quality of life in any community. They are also said to be fundamental to the ideal of the pursuit of happiness. The cultural activities supported by our organizations are unique in that they help to create a desired domino and somewhat cyclical effect that helps drive tourism. It is their impact that is directly tied to the volunteers of the organization and the community. Volunteers are a constant flow of people power, and it is organic. It is nothing that can be counted on. They strengthen, inspire, motivate, and invigorate. They are a vital voice. They create vibrancy and provide advocacy. They are seen as a symbol of pride. They are the driving force of spreading goodwill. And, valuable to us, their free word of mouth, public relations, and marketing. They are diverse. They travel. They cross-pollinate. The personal connections of a volunteer translate directly to every other industry. They help attract spending, investing, donating, and save the government and taxpayers money. There are estimated over 1 million volunteers in Oregon, a value of their service at $2.7 billion. As an example, the Carousel volunteers supported or served 16,000 hours last year at $24.15 an hour, estimated value of their time, $403,000 of our, what would have been a budget we would have had to pay out, which actually almost equals our annual income. That's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Very much, Councillor Hoy.
I wanted to thank you for coming down tonight and underscoring the importance of volunteers. I couldn't agree with you more. And as the 9 of us sitting here are all volunteers, you're preaching to the choir.
Right.
So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You bet. Thank you.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you. That's okay.
If I have my back to your hand, does that mean I don't have to answer?
I remembered my question, and it's to the 9 of you. Are we in a time crunch as far as, I know Councillor Anderson had talked about doing a work session. What is the rate of spending via the money that's going to come in with the eclipse? Is there a delay? Do we want to make sure that we have new things in place on the
Why don't we talk to staff about that maybe a little, or do you handle the
I actually
books?
would say that I personally couldn't speak to that. I don't participate directly with the top board as the executive directors of these organizations typically do. I guess I could say, though, in answer to that question of a time crunch, it's just something that we felt was very timely to start speaking about amongst ourselves and to build this coalition so that we could have a stronger voice in our community for our concerns and for what we can provide.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else before I walk away?
You can go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Fish.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Fish, and I'm the Executive Director of the Salem Multicultural Institute and World Beat Festival. First, I'd like to express our gratitude for the Top Board for the operational funding we have received over the years that has been instrumental to the growth of our organization. My colleagues here have already spoken eloquently to the topic at hand this evening, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I think they've taken care of all of the hard facts and numbers. I would only add that the value and importance of the city's cultural facilities cannot be underestimated. While much of our collective contribution to the quality of life in Salem can be quantified, number of room nights, number of out-of-area visitors, et cetera, there remains certain intangible elements that should not be discounted. I'll give you a few stories. With World Beat, we have people from all over the state, all over the country, and all over the world come into our gallery on a regular basis. Last year, a couple who are living in Ohio came to the gallery. The husband was from Iraq, the wife was from Australia. We struck up a conversation, as we usually do with our gallery guests, since our office is right there in the gallery. You can't escape from us. And they mentioned that they were considering moving to Oregon and were considering Salem in particular. And they were just kind of checking out the town to see what the vibe was and how receptive people would be to having foreigners move to town. And so we told them about World Beat. They looked around the Nigerian exhibit at the gallery. We told them there was a Nigerian store in town, and they were delighted. So fast forward to this June at the opening of our Polish gallery exhibit, and who shows up with this couple who lived in Ohio but have now decided to make Salem, Oregon their home. So that's just a small, brief example of one of the intangible things that all of the cultural facilities here in Salem, I'm sure, experience on a regular basis. And I would just ask that you consider the intangibles as well as the hard numbers and the ROI when considering funding for the cultural nonprofit states.
My daughter lives in Ohio. I'm going to have her stop by and see you because we want her to move
Excellent.
back.
I'm happy to help.
Kathleen, you're the person I've been looking for in Salem. Roger Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Roger Williams. I'm the Executive Director of the Willamette Arts Center here in Salem. I want to speak to you a little bit about what we are, what it is we do. We're located on the fairgrounds. We rent our building from the state of Oregon. We offer a program called Family Clay Sunday, in which people can come in with up to a family of 4 for $10 and make a project. This project is usually theme-oriented toward a season. Our attendance runs anywhere between 60 and 130 people on a Sunday. This is manned by three individuals actually, 2 volunteers and 1 paid person. Because several of our patrons are Latino, we have a Spanish-speaking instructor involved. In addition, we also do Empty Bowls. Empty Bowls is an annual event that we put on where we make anywhere from 12 to 1,400 bowls, and we sell those bowls over a 2-day period of time. In the last 9 years, we have contributed to the Marion Polk County Food Share $160,000. Another way of thinking about that is that for every dollar we have received from TOT, we have returned 66 cents to the members of Salem that need it the most. We also offer field trips to schools as education in the arts has dwindled. We have schools from as far away as Albany coming, Forest Grove, bringing their children here for field events. We also visit schools. So I would encourage you So please consider this request for 15% support. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? That's everyone that's signed up to testify on anything this evening, so. Okay, all righty. Well, thank you. Councilor McCoy, the consent calendar, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Second by Hoy.
Okay, on the consent calendar tonight, we have the minutes from the July 10th council meeting. Under action items, we've got, there are no resolutions. Under action items, we've got a short-term retail lease with the Salem Creative Network for space located at 365 Ferry Street Southeast, Suite A. We are going to do that on a short-term basis. We are approving the attached a grant amendment that we spoke about in the urban renewal meeting of $150,000 of riverfront downtown urban renewal area funding for the Peter Courtney Minto Island Bridge. That is it.
Very good. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We will move on to public hearings.
The City Council will now hold a public hearing for the purpose of considering a city-initiated petition to vacate a southeasterly portion of Old MacLeay Road Southeast. The criteria that are applicable to the proposal are ORS 271.080, 271.230, and SRC 255.065. Failure to raise an issue at the hearing in person or by letter, or failure to provide statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. The City Council shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written evidence, arguments, or testimony.
Thank you very much. And we have a staff presentation.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Gamalo, and I'm a transportation planner with the Public Works Department. I would like to enter the staff report on the record. This is a public hearing to consider a city-initiated vacation of the southeasterly portion of Old MacLeay Road Southeast as part of development by Harrison Industries off of Cordon Road Southeast. Gaffin Road has been extended north across Cordon Road Southeast and east to intersect with the northern end of Old MacLeay Road. This is the aerial as it is now. I don't know how clear it is. The yellow portion here is the proposed vacation. The red portion is the alignment of the Gaffin Road extension. The extension of Gaffin Road makes the southeasterly portion of Old MacLeay Road unnecessary. There's a traffic signal that's going in here. It's going in any day now. Oh, I'm sorry. It's in the southern. Okay. The proposed vacation will allow the owner of the abutting property to increase and improve their ability to use the property. And like I said, the Gaffin Road extension makes that southeasterly portion of Old MacLeay Road here unnecessary, as the turning movements would take place over here and be safer in that there would be a signalized turn here. As of right now, there is no signal here. The area to be vacated will require a blanket easement, as it contains several existing utilities as well as a future planned water utility. As described in the staff report, the vacation meets the criteria necessary for approval, conditional upon the easement. This concludes the report, and thank you for your time, and I can take any questions you have now or after the public comment period.
Councilor Kaiser. Oh, just a moment. Is there anyone from the public that wanted to comment? No one has signed up on this. All righty. We'll go ahead with questions of staff then. Councilor Kaiser.
Thank you. Just one quick question. In the northwest corner on your aerial there, that is a signalized, or sorry, northeast corner. Right. That is a signalized intersection.
Here?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. I looked at the map, and I'm curious as to what is west of you. We're discussing with Councilor Kaiser, where Gaffin Road runs into the part of MacLeay that isn't going to be vacated. There's kind of a weird jog there.
Yeah, this isn't exact. This is the best I could do with the polygon function and GIS.
It certainly seems to me that the best way to do it would be to move it to the left, and so it hits that intersection.
The better, this is how the exact alignment. It's a little skewed compared to the aerial, but it's curved. It's a gradual.
Perfect.
Yeah, and this is the area to be vacated right here.
That makes much more sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Councilor Nanki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I travel this piece that will be vacated every day. And the way Old MacLeay comes in now to MacLeay itself is at a pretty steep angle, and it's actually a safety hazard. So I think the new alignment is going to be a big improvement. Although a lot of people who would use that would be actually the ones coming off of Gaffin. And depending on the light timing, they would probably still elect, people always figure out the timing, to make a right hand on red and then try to shoot MacLeay itself at the Corden Road MacLeay intersection. Hard to say. And it looks fairly narrow in between, but they're still under construction on all the apartment complexes.
I drove it just this past weekend, and there's a lot of construction going on there, and the storage units are already up. These are storage units right here. But we're confident that the traffic signal here will be effective in keeping the entire area.
And we talked about vacating that for years and years. Are they still planning on another commercial development on the triangle piece?
As of right now, I'm not aware of what the plans are for that triangle. It's a separate owner from this owner here. I'm not aware of what the plans are for that small triangle area.
So at the edge of the vacation is the end of the property owner to the the south?
Yeah.
Okay.
So help me just for a moment. Track this. I'm coming down MacLeay Road.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn off onto Gaffin Road where Old MacLeay used to go straight.
Yeah, that would be right here.
Yeah. And
this is Old MacLeay,
is that all that's left of Old MacLeay Road? Is that Old MacLeay Road? That's it? Old MacLeay Road?
Old MacLeay is, if you go there right now, Old MacLeay is there.
That's it?
And this is it.
Just that little short piece is Old MacLeay Road?
Yes.
That's what's, okay. When you then travel down Gaffin Road through this development, and it Y's down there where you will turn on to, I assume, onto Gaffin Road.
This location right here?
No, go all the way through.
Oh, here.
What's that other road?
This is an access to the apartments here.
That will not be a through street.
No.
Okay. How will that be managed? How will the intersection of those two roads be managed? Stop sign, yield sign?
I think there's a stop control there here.
Okay. And then I will turn on to I will be on Gaffin Road. I'll follow it around. I'll hit a light, but straight ahead of me is Gaffin Road heading on towards 62nd or wherever it is.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Now, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Councilor Nanki.
Yeah. I would move staff recommendation.
Second.
Second by Anderson. Any discussion? All those.
Just if I can. Great project. It's been in the works for quite a long time. Wholeheartedly support it, as well as the signal that's going to be put in at Gaffin and Corden, because that's a very dangerous intersection. This piece is dangerous too, if people are trying to make that quick shot as you have oncoming southbound Corden Road traffic. So from a safety perspective, I think it's a really good move.
Great. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Okay, information reports. Where are my special orders of business? Sorry. Who's going to handle this one? McCoy, are you going to
Right?
make a motion
I move
here?
staff recommendation.
Second by Kaiser. Okay? You want to discuss it?
Well, this is increasing the proposed library bond measure by $3.3 million to a total of $18.6. And in large part is by including, after the staff has looked at what we're going to need to do to really make this complete, required ADA improvements and replacement of some building systems that are going to get compromised as the inner walls are put in. They're going to be sort of chopping up some of the utilities and things, as I am going to put it in my layman's language. I think we could put them back together, or we can replace them with a new unit that's going to last 30 years. With the ADA improvements, the big deal was the shelving, which was not earthquake, or was not quake resistant, A, and B. We can put in shelving that is quake resistant and meets ADA requirements, I think.
Mr. City Manager, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, you want to talk to this better than me?
Oh, no, I think Council President McCoy did a very good job of summarizing. As staff reviewed the work that was authorized by Council in February, we discovered a couple of things. One was we were tripping over, sorry for the poor pun, tripping over the Americans with Disabilities Act requirement to require accessibility to other areas of the library that we currently do not have to provide. Second was the discovery that the shelving units could not be secured during a seismic event, including a seismic event to which the building will be structurally sound. So it did not make sense to us at a staff level to proceed with the seismic retrofit of a building and have the shelving units be a danger to the public. And then the other significant component were the building systems that Councilor McCoy mentioned, where they're near or at the end of their useful life. It makes sense to do the work now when the building is being renovated, when the building is open for renovations. And we'd be happy, with staff's help, I'd be happy to go into any detail on any of those pieces of the larger amount.
Councilor Anderson?
Thank you. City Manager and I had an email exchange earlier today about the possibility of a green roof on the top of the library, and Manager Powers, if you could explain to the rest of the council and the public what you explained to me, I would appreciate it.
Certainly, and also with Alan Dannon's help. There are several considerations. Well, first was the staff's scope of review was really limited to making the existing building functional. We did not look at the additional components with the idea of adding attributes such as necessarily sustainability. We will certainly be including those as we get into the work, such as solar and some opportunities for energy efficiency, certainly. But a green roof is a significant structural change we've discovered in our review. It would add $250,000 to $500,000 of additional cost. One significant unknown is that the heavier roof would require changes to what we've started to scope out for the seismic work. And there's also some maintenance considerations with a roof. So, I know, Alan, did I? Where'd Alan? There he is. If I may, if Alan Dannon could speak to that more precisely than I just did.
Good evening. I think Alan Dannon with Public Works Engineering, actually the city manager did a great job of answering that question, and he hit it right on the head. With a seismic retrofit, one of the biggest things you're trying to do is provide lateral stability to the building, and just as with this structure, significant weight at the top level makes that job more difficult. I talked to a structural engineer today. It's certainly possible, but it's doesn't really go with the primary mission of the project. And as mentioned, it adds significant capital cost and significant maintenance cost. And talking with our facilities folks and the staff at the library, our goals here with this project in terms of the system replacements and renovations that we'll be doing is really to focus on operational savings, things that we can do with lighting and the windows and things like that to save our operations costs and hit the sustainability element in that way.
Councilor Anderson?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Dannon and Mr. Powers. I am encouraged about the solar potential because that's a big flat building that is facing south at the south end. So I would certainly hope that we could look into that. I had a second part of that question, and I guess it's for either one of you, and that is we've had some discussion about there's also going to be probably some need to relocate the library at least at some point during this project, and is that included in the bonding measure or not?
No, in reviewing that with bond counsel and our auditor, our independent auditor, we were advised not to include temporary relocation expenses in the bond issue. So we'll be back to you. I will be back to you with a more specific plan
To come out of the operating
and budget.
Yeah,
to,
okay, that's
to
good. That's
address the relocation and what and some options.
I would also, thank you very much. I would also note that there are community groups that are forming now in favor of the bond and will be supporting the bond, and I think that's a terrific thing, and I look forward to voting for it in November.
Great. Our first endorsement. Excellent.
Mayor,
Excellent.
if I may, but
Yes.
just want to highlight. Sorry, excuse me. I just want to highlight for council that if the motion is approved, it's an additional 2 cents per thousand. So I think a modest increase to really make the building functional and to be a much more customer, citizen-friendly, patron-friendly building.
Councilor Hoy.
Well, Mr. Powers already beat me to my question, but I guess just to maybe put it in a little bit more real terms. So the current proposal is $20 per year for a typical $200,000 home. It's $1.67 a month. And if we make this, if we agree to this recommendation, that would increase it to $2 per month or $24 a year. So we're talking about $4 more per year for a typical $200,000 home. I just think it's really important that people hear that number in plain English. So we're talking about a $4 a year increase if we approve this, which seems like a reasonable amount for what we're going to get from it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Cook. You didn't?
Well, he just sat down. I had a question for, oh, there we go.
Well, go ahead and ask your question.
If that's okay. So with the deferred maintenance costs, I know we talked about removing barriers and increasing access by upgrading the ADA
Speak into your mic. I really can't hear you.
By upgrading the ADA on site. My question to you is, with the amount of deferred maintenance on the library already, when was the last time that we had any significant upgrades on the building itself?
Sure. So, and there's been ongoing efforts to address issues over time. The last really significant upgrade was 1990 when the Laux Auditorium and the main entryway were added on and the parking structure. But there's been other less impactful renovations over time. I think they're always working to try to address issues as best they can with the resources they have available.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. We have a motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll go to information reports. We'll start with the Transient Occupancy Tax. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
As a result of discussions during the Budget Committee's consideration of the current fiscal year budget, I was directed by council to come back with options to address concerns regarding the support for the cultural facilities and also with special events. The information report before you this evening includes two proposals which are for your consideration. Certainly if the amounts proposed are inadequate, we can staff can come back with an additional or a revised recommendation. It is a complicated area. It's a complicated area because of statutory, charter, code, policy limitations, and it's complicated in how the city administers the TOT funds with a TOT board with its own set of procedures and policy. So certainly if council is interested in a work session, I believe this is a topic that would certainly justify, particularly for newer councilors, justify your time to get a better understanding of how TOT works, what those limitations are, and then certainly if you wanted to discuss specifically the two areas of concern, that forum would be an opportunity to really do a deeper dive into the math and into how the recommendations were developed.
Point of order?
Yeah.
Do we need a motion?
No.
Okay.
What
Then
I'm going to do is ask,
make a motion.
I'm going to ask you just to see kind of a sense of, would you like to have the city manager schedule a work session?
Yes.
Okay, good. There you go. Okay, we'll have a work session on this. New parking meter. Well, it's just getting right through it, huh? New parking meter technology. You want to?
That's Kristen.
Kristen. Yes, I'm sorry. Did you want to talk about?
No,
parking?
I think she'll probably address my questions.
Oh,
because
okay.
I've discussed them with her.
Okay.
Good evening, Kristen Rutherford, Urban Development Director. And rather than answering the questions myself, I have staff here this evening. I have Sarah Long, who's the project manager, who would be very happy to provide an update on this project and address some of the questions that Councilor Anderson had asked earlier today.
I'm slow tonight. My name's Sarah Long, and I'm a project manager with the Urban Development Department. And tonight we just wanted to give you guys an update on our third phase of new parking technology here in the city of Salem. As you might recall, a couple years ago we started with phase 1, which was what we kind of call the core Capitol Mall around the Capitol building. And then that following spring/summer is when we expanded, so we were able to capture south of State Street and then all the way up to D Street. And as kind of a sidearm to that, we were also able to install a machine over at the Salem Municipal Airport in their parking lot. And then most recently, we changed out technology at the Union Street parking lot, which is adjacent to the AC Gilbert House. And then we also transitioned some of our meters in the Pringle Parkade, getting away from coin and changing to cards. So where we are today is when council back in 2013 had approved a group of recommendations from the parking task force. There were 3 additional areas which had been approved to move to phase parking or paid parking in the future. And what we went ahead and did is we had some remaining funds from the initial $1.5 million that had been approved. So we did an evaluation of all 3 phases to figure out kind of which of those areas made the most sense from an enforcement perspective, from a utilization perspective, and also from a revenue perspective in terms of being able to pay back the cost of putting in the technology. And so based on all of that information, what we have gone ahead and started down the path and wanted to bring to you tonight is the area that we commonly refer to as the blue zone. And it doesn't have strict boundaries, which is why we did include a map in your packets. But it basically captures part of Willamette, a little bit kind of around the hospital, and it also captures around Civic and some of our new development that we've had here on Commercial Street with the new apartment buildings. So that's sort of where we're moving forward to. I am aware that there's been some concern as there is a neighborhood very close by, and I do want you to rest assured we go through a couple different analysis as part of this. One of those is a historical review. So we want to make sure that we're not installing any sort of parking meters that would take away from a historic neighborhood, a look and a feel, anything of that nature. This neighborhood is also already has residential parking. So as part of this process, we won't be touching any existing residential parking areas, any existing carpool areas, or just a designated permit area in general. We'll really be focusing on if there's existing coin-based meters, and then also some of the free areas and just signed time spaces. The other piece is we'll look at all of them and try and get some more consistent time restrictions to make it easier for people, so you don't have 2 spaces that are 10 hours, the next space being 1 hour, the next space being 30 minutes. We've kind of tried to do that in each of our phases, and this one won't be any different.
Councilor Anderson.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Just so it's real clear, the area we are talking about that is residential and historic is the Gaiety Hill neighborhood.
Correct.
Okay, because it's in the blue area of your map, and
yeah.
I want everybody on Gaiety Hill who lives there to make sure that they understand that this will not in any way affect the parking in their district that is basically doubly protected. It's a historic area, and it's also zoned RP.
Correct. And
Thank
we've
you.
already had some communications with the Neighborhood Association. I know they've been working with Public Works on some other items. So we've been trying to kind of coordinate that messaging, and we'll still keep them in the loop so there's no concern as we move forward.
Councilor Nanki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the update. It was very informative. Nice to see us moving forward. Are we saving any of the old parking meters for historic areas?
We are not at this time. However, I do believe we have quite a collection in storage if you're interested.
Absolutely.
You have to buy it.
Councilor Hoy.
I'm curious, you have there's a series of, I think, maybe 8 or 10 parking spaces directly in front of the Capitol building that are just single, they're the new technology, but they're single parking meters, and they don't offer receipts. Are you going to install any more of those? Do you anticipate those anyplace else?
I can't answer for certain on this phase. What we'll do, I think we're scheduled the very end of August to do a walkthrough with our parking technology vendor, some folks at Public Works, and our own parking staff. And at that point, we start to make those determinations about the exact type of technology. The reason for those types of meters is it's twofold depending on the location that we're in. If we have to install in where there's a historic building, we try just to change out the meter heads as opposed to putting in a pay station, just to kind of keep the same look and feel. The other piece comes down to how many spaces there are. So if we're only trying to capture 2 to 4 spaces, financially it really doesn't make sense for us to put in a pay station unless it has easy access across the street or around a corner. But then we're looking at are there ADA spaces and just, trying to make it as easy for folks as possible. In front of the Capitol, just as a specific, is a little bit more interesting because when we were planning that, we weren't sure about a potential seismic upgrade project at the Capitol building itself. And so we tried to put in technology that would be easy to transfer in case that area actually ended up not allowing for parking in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Lewis. Did you have no? Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Kaiser.
Thank you. We spoke, I don't know, a few weeks ago about this project, and the way I kind of understood it was you're initially going to go after the places that are already paid parking and just replacing those with this newer technology. And then through that process, you're going to evaluate if you should expand that or not. But not everywhere in blue will be paid, kind of as we've already spoken about Gaiety Hill. But other areas will also be excluded from a paid parking. It's just this is the kind of study area or whatever you want to call it. Is that my interpretation correct?
Yes, that is correct. What council had approved was that area that could go to paid parking. So there's areas in there right now where there's already no parking or residential parking or carpool parking, and so those automatically will be taken out of the equation. However, the rest of the areas, if it's time restricted or if it's free, unlimited, no time restricted, or if it's a meter parking, those are all going into our hope to be able to transition. This phase is a little different because we're really working with a finite amount of dollars, where our other ones we've sort of had these savings, so we've been able to do a little bit more. So what I want to make sure is that we stay within budget, and that's sort of going to determine that final geographic area. Once we know exactly what that's going to be, we'll be communicating it to all the property owners, the businesses, the stakeholders, and we'll get an update back to council as well.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Were there any other information items anyone wanted to bring up? Okay. We'll do first reading of ordinances.
Okay. Ordinance Bill number 1917 relating to transient occupancy tax, amending SRC 37.020, .030, .040, .050, .050, .060, .070, .080, .090, 100, 110, 120, 140, 150, 160, 165, 170, and 190, repealing SRC 37.200, creating new SRC 37.025 and 37.185, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilor McCoy.
I move the staff recommendation.
Second by Nanki. Any discussion? All those in favor say, oh.
I do have a discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's quite all right. I was deferring to Councilor McCoy in case he was going to say this.
he wanted to talk?
Yeah. I just want to make sure, in light of our earlier discussion, that the way I read this is just to deal with collecting tot taxes on short-term rentals and accessory short-term rentals. I'm looking at you, Deputy City Manager.
That is somewhat accurate, but it also relates to
That's like most of my statements, I guess.
the collection of transient occupancy tax from the hoteliers and others, because there are some provisions in there that allow us to be more effective in collecting those from the few bad actors that we have.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you want to comment?
Nope, that's what I would have said.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. And we have no second readings. We have one public comment left. Reverend Hawkeye Morgan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I have a prepared statement in relation to Salem's housing crisis. Here in Salem, we have a public homelessness crisis. There are children begging on our street corners, veterans sleeping behind dumpsters, pregnant mothers sleeping in squats and encampments, senior citizens hungry and without shelter, people shamelessly buying, selling, and using illegal drugs in public, and many more atrocities that confound a compassionate course of thought. Surely, in our great first world society, the wealthiest and largest country on earth, we can find a suitably compassionate solution to these problems. As Americans, the pioneers of the modern world, we can do better by our citizens than leaving them to rot on street corners and in alleys without compassion or empathy. Despite individual challenges, there are just not enough homes to go around. Here in Oregon, we have known that for a while. And now there are people who are trying to and hoping to address the problem. From repairing falling apart buildings to building new affordable housing, there is a lot to accomplish if anyone wants to see a drop in the homeless rates. One solution that is used commonly is community action agencies, such as MWVCAA Arches and Northwest Human Services HOPE program. They provide access to many resources all in one place, case management for employment and housing search, support groups and programs, meals, laundry, and day shelter so that people can have a place to do their housing and employment searches. But they need more support from legislature, property management companies, and employers to make a significant difference. Solving the problem of homelessness will require support from every level of government and support from philanthropists and citizens alike working together in a functional relationship. We cannot each do it alone. Confounding the problem here in Salem and in many other cities, it is illegal to camp on any public property. This causes many people experiencing homelessness to be afraid to sleep for fear of retribution from police, leading some to PTSD and encouraging addictions problems. These feelings can make a person vulnerable to poor decisions who normally wouldn't seem prone to them, causing a great deal of suffering. One possible temporary solution being discussed is sanctioned supervised camping. Salem Weekly News says temporary housing could be provided in legal, secure, fenced tent sites for very reasonable costs. These would be supervised and would serve as a connection point with case managers from social service agencies. I have seen a similar practice used in Portland, Oregon called Dignity Village. It has been shown to work elsewhere. Why not try it here in Salem? Any of us could become homeless at any moment. All it takes is one thing to go wrong in life: a lost job, a death, divorce, an accident, illness, addiction, a no-cause eviction, and many other circumstances.
Great. Thank you very much, Reverend Morgan. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned.